The night I asked a cashier why her hands were shaking, I thought I was just buying milk and gummy bears, not walking straight into a fight with a ticking clock in a courtroom at dawn. And if you've ever felt your life pivot on a sentence you weren't ready to hear, you know what I mean. I'm Nolan Hayes, single dad, gray hoodie. November rain slanting sideways in Chicago, my daughter Lily humming in the back seat. And for once I felt like a regular guy pushing a cart under those buzzing lights. The floor so clean it squeaked, the scanner beeping like a metronome keeping time with my heartbeat. Then we got to the only open register, and I saw Tessa's hands shaking in a way that wasn't caffeine or cold. It was the kind of tremor your body gets when you've been holding everything up for too long, and the load finally talks back. And before I could decide whether to mind my business, Lily tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Dad." Her hands, and the jar of red sauce slipped, hit the tiles and spread out like a slow wound. The manager marched over with that old store smell of rules and frustration and said, "Read. We've been over this, speed up or clock out." And Tessa dropped to her knees like she could fix a life if she cleaned fast enough, going for glass with bare fingers. And I knelt without thinking, set my palm over hers. "Stop. You'll cut yourself," and something in her face cracked like thin ice. I told the manager to open another register, not loud, just steady, and he backed off, and Tessa finished scanning, like a person bracing for a punch that might still be coming. Then she said it. Flat voice, no drama. "Tomorrow at 10, they're taking my daughter." We went to the tiny cafe in the corner, rain tapping the window like it had news, and she wrapped both hands around a paper cup like it was a little radiator, and said she wasn't asking me for anything. She was just worn out from pretending. And then the story poured out. An ex who left a sorry note, and a debt, an eviction notice, a daycare report about a thin coat. Social services with a time on the letter, like a countdown, a 4-year-old named Mia who sleeps with one sock off and a stuffed elephant missing an ear. People think money makes you brave, but it just gives you options, and options can be a maze. Still, grief had already taught me how to choose when there's no good choice, so I said, "We're going to your place, we're going to meet Mia, and then we're going to make 10 o'clock look different." And when Tessa flinched at the word "we," I told her I didn't need to know everything. I just couldn't leave her there, and Lily, because kids know exactly where to put a hand on a broken thing, asked if we could meet Mia too. Ravenswood stairs, wet shoes, and cigarette ghosts. A hallway carpet that remembers other people's footsteps, and inside a one-room place the size of my office bathroom. Mia breathed the soft, steady sleep of the exhausted, while that one-eared elephant watched like a faithful witness, and I felt something in my chest pull tight. Not pity, not savior energy, just recognition, the simple truth of a home built out of effort and care, and a heater with opinions. I called Amara a family lawyer who can turn empathy into legal language, and Cole my brother, who collects apartments like some people collect baseball cards, and the plan took shape in that scrappy midnight way that makes you believe again. A below-market, 2-bedroom, ready by morning, an emergency filing for a stay, an employer letter, a pediatrician note, a community support letter. We named the circle because Lily said it means we promise to run next to them until they can ride alone. And yeah, that happened. The kid explained the law. We printed, signed, highlighted, paper clipped. Tessa dug out every small proof of love she'd saved. Daycare receipts, a birthday card, with the marker still too wet in the corner, a pharmacy bag stapled to a bill she'd circled 3 times, and Amara told her to write down the bedtime story about the moon getting stuck in a tree because judges are human and the human belongs in the file. Dawn came gray and rude. We walked into a courtroom that pretends it's neutral. Ms. Hanley from Social Services had careful eyes and a neat bun. She didn't look cruel, she looked tired of being the villain in everybody's story. Judge Ramirez took the bench with the kind of presence that makes you wish you'd ironed your shirt, and the speeches started. Unstable housing, financial precarity, late pickups, insufficient winter clothing. The hard things softened by words that sound like care. Then Amara stood and said, "We don't punish poverty with separation. Within 12 hours, Ms. Reed secured stable housing, verified work, documented medical care, and established community support. There's no allegation of harm, only need, and the law does not turn need into unfitness." And the judge flipped the pages, asked about the new lease, asked whether there were safety concerns beyond money, and finally looked at Tessa like a person and not a file. I wasn't supposed to speak. I'm not family. I'm the guy from the grocery store who couldn't walk past. But I leaned in and said, "I watched this mom put her hands over broken glass so her kid wouldn't get cut by what spilled. I can pay for things, that's easy. But she knows the story. You tell when the moon gets stuck in a tree. If you take Mia, you don't just move a kid, you break that story in half," and the room went cotton quiet. Then the gavel touched wood like a hand on a shoulder, and the judge said, "We don't make orphans of the poor. Temporary order. Mia stays 3 months of check-in support, offered, not weaponized." In the hallway, Tessa asked why I would do this for a stranger, and I told her the truth I'd been circling all night. Because once someone asked me if I was okay, and I lied, I wish they'd asked again. And we walked out into a morning that didn't feel easy or cinematic. It felt like chores, like the right kind of work, the slow kind that fixes things you plan to keep. The next months looked like Tuesday after Tuesday. Cole finalizing the lease and then stepping back, Amara teaching Tessa how to keep a folder in real time, my doctor faxing until his machine complained. Lakeside Market moving her to a better shift, me showing up with groceries that weren't gifts so much as margin, and the house found new sounds. Girls arguing over markers, a heater sighing, a kitchen table turning into a night class desk, and the tremor that once lived in Tessa's fingers moved to her laugh when I lost a fight with duct tape over a window. "You could buy a building," she teased, "and here you are getting folded by tape," and I said, "I'm here because I want to be," and heard how true it was. Time did that slippery thing. Tessa took an accounting course started at my company as a temp turned out to be the person who spots the missing cent on page 5 walked in one spring morning in a blazer that fit like a decision. And the day she renewed her lease without calling me, we ate cake that tasted like earned, not gifted. Then came the twist that still gets me. Years later, we were back at Lakeside Market, and a new cashier dropped a jar of red sauce. It shattered into a memory, and before I could even move, Tessa was already kneeling, palm over the girl's hand. "Stop, you'll cut yourself," same words, different. Voice steady now, and the manager with the try-hard haircut stopped mid-stride because some kinds of authority don't need volume. That's when I understood the circle for real. The hand you steady today grows strong enough to steady someone else tomorrow. And if that sounds like a slogan, come over on Bill Day and listen to how we talk to envelopes. It's not pretty, and it's honest, and it counts. People always want to know when we made it official, like love is a form waiting for a stamp. But it became official 100 small ways, the girls calling each other sisters until they forgot there was ever a time they weren't. Mia shuffling out for water one night, catching our hands on the couch, saying, "Good now, we're a real family," like she'd notarized it herself, and we did a modest ceremony later in a community garden on the north side, cherry blossoms trying their best. Cole blaming pollen for the tears. Amara toasting that justice is love written down, and if you want the neat ending, we can stop there. Let the music swell, let the credits roll. But life isn't tidy, you know that. And the truth is, we still had check-ins because bureaucracy doesn't retire just because you won a hearing. Some days the mailbox holds one envelope that makes your stomach drop some days. People look at us and do math they never learned to do right, the man by the elevators muttered. Some people get lucky and I nearly turned, but Tessa tugged my sleeve and said, "Let it go, Luck didn't sign all those forms." And Amara walked by and added, "Luck didn't take the late shift either, and we took the girls for ice cream and left that man alone with his sentence because he has to live with it longer than we do." If you're listening for a hero story, you might be disappointed. I didn't save anyone. I just refused to step over a person who fell. I asked one question and stayed put, and if there's any win here, it's that Tessa's hands only shake now when she's laughing too hard at me, trying to fix a shelf that two girls with different last names don't remember how to be anything but sisters, that when a kid at Lily's school showed up in a sweater too thin for the wind, our daughters opened their closet without asking. So here's the part that might sting. If Tessa hadn't been soft-spoken, if she'd been loud or tired in a way that reads as rude if she'd snapped back at the manager, would I have asked, "Are you okay? Would you be honest?" Because that's the fight that isn't in any file. The bias we don't like to name. Tell me what you think. Should poverty ever be a reason to take a child? Is the system keeping kids safe or keeping poor families in a chokehold? Where did we do right? Where did we mess up? Drop your take in the comments. Share a time someone's small kindness changed your page. And if you believe compassion should be policy, not luck, hit like and send this to someone who might need to hear it. Maybe they'll ask the only question that ever mattered. Are you okay? And won't leave when the answer is a lie.